This morning session is going to really focus on updates in Microsoft and Google because there's just been a ton lately. And I mean, I can't keep up and I try to pay attention. And so for those of us that are are not paying attention, it's like there's a lot of stuff out there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you some time to explore some of the stuff, but we're also just going to, kind of fast and furious go through some things. And then we'll do a little bit of reflection, kind of like excuse me, what do you need to really be your best user of the Google and Microsoft tools. So in the chat, I am really curious who's using Microsoft and who is using Google or both. And so go ahead and drop that in the chat for me. I'm really both. Awesome. Seeing a lot of Google people and some some both. I don't see anybody that said Microsoft so far. Jamie, you have to say something because I know you use Microsoft a lot. Both, yay, okay. So I see some both, but a lot of Googles. So lots of Googles. So as we kind of roll through all this, we will I will be doing a little bit of the similarities and differences too as we're going through, just so you can kind of see that. So all the resources are at ti.net/regional training, and that will take you to the page that you registered on, and then you can go ahead and click on the session resources. Today, we're going to really just be focusing on Google Workspace for Education and Microsoft. So when you click on day one here, I have two different resources here. We're going to kick off with Google. There's no reason, there's no rhyme or reason for it. They're both super awesome. And the really cool thing for me is they are really starting to become very similar. Because with Office 365 in Microsoft, you have a lot of collaboration options. We've always had the really awesome collaborations options in Google. And so, you really have a lot of really great options. Some of the big updates that I want to touch on, just because you're going to start seeing more of them as we roll down the pipe, are, oops, obviously I did not change links. I'm sorry, you guys. Who knows what I did there? Let me fix that. The horrors of it all. So you may need to refresh your screen here in just a second, okay? So I do love, so Google Sites is super awesome. Who's using Google Sites in the crowd? And you can do the feedback, the reactions if you want, or you can drop it in the chat. All right, so refresh your page and the updates are there now. I'm sorry. Okay, so about a month ago, at the beginning of the month, Google announced their options for workplace education. They announced some additions, and last year they had the Education Plus, where a lot of schools added it on because it gave us that functionality for more control on Google Meet. Now they've really changed their different editions, and so I've got the compare editions here that we will be looking at in a couple minutes. So some of the big updates to Google in general, and I do follow Control-Alt-Achieve because he does a really nice job. He's a Google certified trainer, and he does a really nice job and a really regular job of publishing out the updates. And so I tend to appreciate him because he does keep me up to date so that I don't have to miss, if I miss something, I can go back and review all that. So some of the really cool things that are happening in Google are they've added these different education tiers. And so we will go through those in a minute, give you all the details on those. They have done Google Drive storage updates. And so the limits don't go in place until July of 2022. But that is something that I would definitely, tech coordinators, and, if you're not the tech coordinator, but you hang out with the tech coordinator, let them know that this is happening. And so you can kind of start assessing what your usage is as a building. Google Classroom. Google Classroom has done some really cool things. One of the things that I'm most excited about is there's going to be student engagement tracking. And so that you're going to be able to see when students log in, when students, what they've last worked on, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to have that functionality, which is not something that we've had in Google Classroom before. They're also adding offline functionality for the Google Classroom app. And they're adding, in the Android, they're adding the option to scan, edit, attach images. They're adding rich text formatting. So that's super exciting. And they are improving how the grading goes. So that's really good. I'm excited about all those. One of the things that they've done, and this was just like last week, they talk about Jamboard adding version history. Jamboard added version history, you guys. It's life-changing. I'm so happy. It now makes Jamboard doable. I had a teacher I worked with a couple weeks ago, and she's like, yeah, we can't use Jamboard because kids are using it inappropriately. And now you have that version history, and so it's just awesome. So that is rolling out. If you don't see it in your Jamboard yet, we will have to, it will show up. So that's pretty awesome. Security options, they have done quite a bit of security feature updates, which is really great because it gives us a lot more control that way. And then Google Meet. Google Meet has, if you're on any of the social media, they have been, there's been a lot of changes. And like with this latest update, I know an add-on for Grid wasn't working. And so there's just a lot of things happening. They have added the end meetings for everyone, which is phenomenal. And they also are rolling out that mute participants all at once. And so everybody should be seeing that now. And so that's really awesome. So I'm really excited for a lot of those options, just because it gives you way more control and makes Google Meets a lot more functionable. A big Chromebook update. They just released the screen recording tool built into the Chrome OS. And so that's super exciting. I do not have a new enough Chromebook to be able to test it out on. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But hopefully those of you that have newer Chromebooks can do that. I need to tell the boss I need a new Chromebook. And so that's the one that I'm most excited about. But I'm also really happy that they've worked on audio, video, and reliability improvements in Meet too, because there's a lot of complaints about that. There's a lot of accessibility features that they've worked on, and so in your Chromevox, there's improvements, and we will look at the accessibility here shortly too. And so there is a whole learning with Google Livestream that you can watch if you'd like. So that is on that link. But those are some of the kind of like the super fast and furious big updates. I do want to look at the editions, because that's one of the things that for me was most exciting and also most, I don't want to say confusing, but I just wanted to make sure that, you know, everybody understands what's going on. So, you know, every edition includes the Google Suite. And so every edition includes all of these options that we see right here. As we scroll on down, they give us the pricing for everything. And so when you're looking at Google Workplace for Education Fundamentals, that was G Suite for education. That's what was free, and it's still free. Google Workplace for Education Standard, that levels up on the admin side. And so you're looking at more security, analytics, safeguards against digital threats, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you are looking at Google Workplace for Education Standard, I think about that as more of something that the administration would want. Then you roll over to the teaching and learning upgrade, and this is for teachers. And so these are the things that you can have bigger meetings, you can have the interactive Q&As, the polls, the breakout rooms in Google Meet. So if you're a Google Meet school, this would definitely be something I would look at. They're adding some Google Classroom add-ons that you can directly integrate your favorite tools. And to be honest, I didn't fully get this when I went to the updates. I mean, they went through it really fast, and I'm not 100% sure what exactly we can add on, but I think it's like those flip grids and those kinds of things. You can just add those on directly rather than having to add in links. And then the unlimited originality reports, which is like super awesome. So that's a good one. And then finally, there is the Workspace for Education Plus. And so that is what we'd upgraded to last year. So those are schools that upgraded in the last fall. That is what was G Suite Enterprise for Education. And so that is what if you upgraded last year, you did. So basically what they've done is they've kind of broken up the former G Suite and Enterprise for Education into two components, the teaching and learning and the Workspace for Education Standard. And these are not available to purchase yet, but just so when things start rolling out and you're like, oh, this is going to go away or this isn't going to go away, you know, that is what's going on. And I would definitely, you know, check this out if you're at all interested in it. Thank goodness they did a checklist here. And so that's been really nice to be able to go across and say, okay, here's what I can do with the different resources, and here's what I can't do. And so it really gives you a much better picture than what we had before. So if you are at all, you know, confused about the different editions, this is a really great resource to check out. And if you're curious, it's also a great resource. And so that's the compare editions for Google Education there. A couple of other quick updates. So I gave you more information for storage limits, and then I also dropped a more detailed information about the workplace. Google Classroom has done a really great update with their roadmap. And for those of us that use Google Classroom, this is nice because it goes through and it talks about all of those things that I kind of mentioned really on the fly, but gives you some screenshots that you can see how it's going. And so it gives you this, okay, here's how you can integrate if you want. So there we have an example. Go us. Okay, Jamie, thanks. Couple of other things are these classroom audit logs. analyzing classroom activity logs. And so this is one of the ones that I'm excited about, is the classroom activity logs, just because it's going to really help us see when our learners are using Classroom. And that'll also help with your student engagement. And so there's just a number of resources here. That here's where I talked about the scanning. You'll be able to scan multiple pages much more easily. So if you're a Google Classroom user, I would definitely pop in and check those out. And then the other thing that they've just announced recently is the Android TalkBack screen reader. And so there's another one where if you are looking for accessibility features, this one will read aloud your screen to you. And so you can take advantage of that. And I noticed that that popped up on my phone, golly, a couple weeks ago. And so I was like, oh, cool. And I was playing with it. So it's kind of fun to have. So those are some super fast and furious Google updates that have come down the pipe. But I wanted to also hit on a few other things. And so I gave a lot of resources here to kind of, so we can dive in a little bit to some of the other areas. So if you are Google Slides users, Google Slides is such a great collaborative tool. And so if you're wanting to take this back to your staff and help them utilize Google Slides, here's a bunch of resources here to get started, some samples, and then some really great templates. And so if you are, struggling with the, creativity, or how do I create a choice board in Google Slides, Slides Mania, all of those resources do a really great job of giving you some awesome templates so you don't have to recreate the wheel. And so you can kind of go in and check out all of their different templates. A couple other things with Slides. I did drop in some resources for math and for littles, and for music teachers, because I know music teachers are always the ones that we don't get the attention that they deserve. And then how many of you would love to be able to voice type on Google Slides? Or how many of you can voice type on Google Slides already? You can chat me, you can unmute. Do you do it already, Abby? Voice type on Google Slides? Awesome. Okay, cool. No. Oh, okay. I was like, so cool. I learned this from teachers a couple weeks ago. So this isn't, teachers, everything I know, I learned from teachers or librarians, depending on. So let's pop into Google Slides, and I will show you this cool add-on that I am so excited about. So I'm just going to go to Google Slides, and this is in the K-12. And so this is something you can do in K-12. Of course, I have to log in apparently, because I haven't been here for a couple minutes. Okay, so in Google Slides, when we make a new slides, or when we have a slides or whatever, and I'll just make a new slides. We're going to talk about voice typing, and so I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to give it a title so that we have a title in it. And then we are going to jump into voice typing. And so the Google Translate app is our friend in this situation. And I had no idea that this worked like this. And so it's super awesome. So you go to your add-ons. And I have Slides Translator already added on, but we'll show you how to do it. So I'm in Slides. You have to go to add-ons, so get add-ons. And then I can search for Translate. And I know I want it to be Slides Translator. And so, and you can see I have it installed, but if you click on it, it'll install it for you. And so I've got Slides Translator now. So that was an add-on. Close this. And now what I'm going to do is, so I'm clicked into my slide. I'm going to go to my add-ons. I'm going to go to Slides Translator, and I'm going to say I want voice type, and I can either have it be floating or sidebar. In this situation, I'm going to do it on the sidebar. And so I've clicked in on my title. You're going to see that I now have the sidebar over here. And so I'm going to click on the microphone. Voice typing demo. And there you go. Isn't that so cool? I know, Cheryl. I know. I'm so excited about it. So I learned this from some teachers in California a couple weeks ago, and it was like, because they were like, well, can you voice type on slides? And I'm like, gosh, I don't know. And then somebody's like, try this. And I was like, yay. So yeah. So you can now voice type directly on your slides. And so this is so exciting because I've been using slides for so many things this year, and to be able to add that functionality is just awesome. So there you have it. David, yes, we all need this, I think. So in slides, currently, if you can voice type your speaker notes in slides already, but you can't, to type on the slides, you have to do this add-on. And so Camille, your new favorite. I know, right? It's my new favorite too, I think, because I was just like, this is so cool. So anyways, so that's a slides add-on to kind of help with that functionality. And if you aren't able to add it on, if your Google admin does not allow that, send them a note and just ask them to open it up so that you can add it on. And if you have the functionality to be able to push out add-ons to your students, and you want your students to be able to use this, that would be the easiest way, is to push that add-on out at the admin level. So just things to keep in mind. But yeah, I'm so excited by this one. I mean, I get excited about everything, but this one's super fun. So that is the Slides Translator add-on. So you can go to town with that. We've got some different examples here of different interactive slides. So I'm going to kind of go through a few things, and then I'm going to push you guys out and let you explore in breakout rooms. So we'll go through content, but then we'll give you time. So one of the other cool things that we have going on, so Google Classroom, for those of us that use Google Classroom, there's a lot going on with Google Classroom. I did want to point out, and I'm assuming a lot of you know this at this point, but some of the really nice things with Google Classroom that they've started doing is when you go to join a class now, they're going to tell you what you're logged in as. And so that makes life a little bit easier when you are joining a class, so that as a student or even a teacher, you know which account you're logging in as. Another nice tidbit to be aware of with Google Classroom is on the K-12 Google Classrooms, you can log in with a personal Gmail address. And so as a teacher, if you want to see, you want to bring in your personal you as a student, you can do that. And so it could give you that opportunity to say, well, what does this look like for my students, or how does this act for my students? And it's nice, especially when you're trying to test something out. You can also be your own guinea pig with a personal email address. So those are a couple of things that are really, kind of good to know there. I've given, so this is basically, you know, kind of a, hey, this is how you set up Google Classroom type of thing. Just some of the features and some of the settings to be aware of. Because one of the things that I've really noticed is it, the settings make a really big deal, make a big difference, and make it so that it's just easier for you to function. And so I'm going to pop into my demo class here. And your settings are in the upper right hand corner under the gear. And this is where you can control, you now can send out an invitation link. And so that's super awesome. You can control what students can do on the stream. And so you can say that students can only comment. And so that means you would post and they can only comment on your posts. And you can also limit it to only teachers can post or comment. One of the things that I mean, was life-changing for me with Google Classroom was classwork on the stream. You can hide notifications if you would like. If you just want all your classwork to be on the classwork, you can hide the notifications so that the stream is only for like your communication. And then Guardian summaries are really awesome. You can turn it on and off your Meet link. And then one of the things that I'd never played with before was the grading options. And that was like, ooh, this is actually really cool. So you can calculate your grades. And so you can weight by category if you want, you can do total points. And then you can also set up grading categories. And so things will default to points when you make an assignment. Are you guys using all these cool things? If you're Google Classroom peeps? Yes, I love that. Oh, good, good. So like in an assignment, when I make an assignment, and I go over here to my grade category, I can say it's a quiz. It'll automatically turn it into 50 points. And so it's like, makes life so much easier when you're doing those types of things. So so a couple other things with grading. So yes, not, you know, having to do the work twice, I get that. And this class doesn't have any grades. Let me see if I can find a class that has some grades. So unfortunately, the add-on to Canvas is something that is not an option. So let me see if I have grades in this one. I do, wonderful. Okay, so some of the things that you can do with grades are you can, oops, I didn't want to click on that, sorry. You can, in your grade book, do some things. You could do some things. Have I lost my mind, you guys? Do I not have enough people in here? You should be able to export your grades. So I've either lost my mind or I'm just not seeing it this morning. But I've been able to export my grades out as a spreadsheet, which is really powerful because then I can totally, you know, I have it as a spreadsheet. I'm gonna have to play with that. I will post how to do it when I come back. I am so sorry because it makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. So if you know how to do it, tell me. Okay. But so that was one of the things that I did appreciate was earlier this fall, I was able to export everything out. And that was really, really nice because it made life a little bit easier. Okay. So that's kind of, I mean, so Google Classroom, they continually add things. They still haven't added some of the things that I know everybody's been requesting, which is the being able to post multiple, you know, schedule to multiple classes and things like that, which is unfortunate because that would make life a lot easier.
Julie, this is Gretchen. If you go on that settings where you had your grades, if you go to your little wheel,
Mhm.
there should be then in your grade book where you had the students' grades.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
that little wheel, there should be a setting there for it to export.
in my grade book, and I'm in my grade book.
Okay, so then on that screen, isn't there a wheel?
There is the wheel, but it just takes me to my class settings.
And then from there, then you need to go in and tell it to transfer over to like Infinite Campus.
Well, and that's an add-on that
Okay,
has
okay.
to be set up, et cetera. But I did export my grades in demo classes. I mean, it's just the name of a demo class. It's not a demo. It's because I'm in demo. It's because I'm demoing that it won't let me show you anything. But
Sure.
I'll go back. I'll look it up. I will look it up because I know I did it, and it was super awesome because it was at least a step, so you could get your grades out. Because I had a couple people that were like trying to get their grades out, and it was like, oh, well, you could do this, but we'll futz with it, and maybe it's gone away because that's one of the beauties of Google is they take things away and give you things back. So those are just a few things within Google that, and I also talk about, playing around with archiving your classes, things that copy, that type of thing. So these are all kind of resources that if you're really diving into Google Classroom, it can be a great place to, pick up some of those things. One of the things that I encourage you to share with all your staff is the Google Teacher Center. And this is pretty new. They just, I mean, they've always had something, but they just put it together in this format. And so they have some tips for Google products. You can explore the certifications. And then they also have professional development programs. And so like, here are the tips. And so if I want to go down, excuse me, and like click on slides, for example, one of the things you can do now is it'll get you started. It'll give you, ideas, gives you tips and tricks from teachers. So you just have a lot of resources here, including some lesson plans and training. So if you want to do a deep dive into any one of the resources, the Teacher Center is a really great resource. So I did the little survey on before we started all this, Jamboard. So how many of you guys are using Jamboard already in your schools? All right. So Camille, this is going to be another life-changing things. The kids mess with it. What do you mean, Val? Ah, they type things. Okay. Well, guess what? Version history is here. So now you have that. You have that functionality. So Jamboard is one of the resources. I mean, it's been here for a while because it was one of the tools that it's an add-on. To turn it on, you have to turn it on in Google in the Google dashboard. And so it is something that your administrator has to enable. So it's not part of the basic apps like Word, Sheets, or Docs and Sheets and Slides and all those types of things. It's an additional. It is free, and it is also one of those resources that they in this last year, awareness and resources for and updates to have just skyrocketed. So this is what Jamboard looks like. One of the weird things about it is your new Jamboard is down here in the lower right hand corner. That's where you make a new jam. So it's a little different than all of our other resources. When so you can title your jam. So this is day 1. And some of the really cool things that they have done is I can now upload an image background. And so like if you want to have a slide as an image in your background, you can do that so that the kids can't, move stuff around. So that's really nice. They also have graph paper. They have grid, that you have a chalkboard. I mean, so lots of different options that you can use to create this. On the left are all your tools. Initially, all they for communicating, they have the sticky notes. And so you'd click on a sticky note, you could pick your color, and then, type. You are limited of words. And so when you run out of words, it's kind of weird, but it's not the end of the world. And you can pick your color if you want. They've recently added a text option, and so I can just add in a text box here. All right. And so that's a really nice option there. And then there's a pen, and so we can do any annotation we want. We can change the thickness. We can also change the color. And so this is one of the tools that I see a lot of teachers use. For annotating, for writing math problems, that type of thing. So Marcy, yes, I'll give you some examples. Just give me a sec. And then you can upload pictures. You can add in images. You can now add in shapes. So that's super cool. So it's kind of like you're limited to your creativity or what you can think of basically for this resource. So you can share it just like if you were to have if you just like anything in Google, you can share this in Google Classroom. And so you can do you can do it as a collaborative resource, or you can do it as everybody gets their own jam. So you have those options. I'm going to give this to you guys so that you can play around with it. So this is a demo one, so I just want everybody to kind of hop in. So I'm going to drop it in the chat. Okay, so go ahead and click on that, and you can have up to 50 people on a Jamboard. And so I've got 39 in the session right now. I don't know how many individual groups there are. So if you have a lot of groups, we could max it out. So cool. Oh my gosh, you guys are out of control already. So yes, in the chat, on the jam, just play, how would you use this? What happens? Somebody uploaded a picture. Yay, coffee. Aw, puppy. I feel like you guys have gone out of control, but in a good way. All right, so a couple of things. So I let you guys be in as anonymous users, but obviously in like a Google Classroom, your students are logged in. I can go in and I can see the version history. And so I can see what everybody has done here. With the anonymous users, I can go back to original, et cetera, et cetera. So you do have a lot of functionality here that can be really, I'm so thankful they added version history. That just makes it so much better. Is this, Val, is that you? This is what my student jams. Yes, no, yes, I hear you. Some of it I think is, now that you have version history, I'm hoping that you'll be able to say, hey, I can see who's doing this. So it's not just, it's not anonymous anymore. You can see who's making the changes. And also you can restore content. And so if something's deleted, you can restore it. All right, so that's a demo jam. I'm gonna go back to the resources. It can become, yes, a graffiti board is one of the really great ways to do it. So this idea board for Jamboard is one of my favorite resources. And I think this is my first introduction to Jamboard. Maybe. No, I don't remember. It might have been. And so the idea board is a curated collection of all these different ideas. And so Marcy, you asked, when would you use it? So here we have all of these different ideas. And so I'm gonna click on research and brainstorming, and it's just gonna drop us down to different samples here. And then I'm gonna drop us down to math, because I think math is one of my favorite ones, just because it's such a so we can insert equate, you can install the Equate.io Chrome extension. You can use the graph paper, bar graphs, circle graphs. And so lots of ideas on the idea board for Jamboard. And then the other one that I just love is this Get on the Jamboard Train Wakelet collection. But then there's also, DitchAt textbook has 20 different classroom ideas. There's some Jamboard templates. So lots of different examples of how you can use it. I like it for exit tickets. I also like it for brainstorming. Let's see. Oh, and here's my favorite one. Everything's my favorite one, you guys. Like ELF. So this is the one where I initially learned about Jamboard. And so the options have since updated significantly. But as you go on through, she's added in a ton of examples here, which I love. And so here's math, modeling math, and you can get the Jamboard for that. You can get the Cuisenaire rods. Here is modeling ELA, some different things that she's done for ELA. Here's mind maps and brainstorming. There's science, which I think is just so cool to be able to, do the diagramming and the labeling. Morning check-ins, elementary ideas, more mind maps, music, etc. So this one is probably the ideas that I dearly love the most, because that was my first introduction to it. So these introductory slides, but then as you scroll on down, there's a lot of this idea board is great. And then there's all these collections. And so if you're looking for ideas or templates, this is a great place to go. Yes, Cheryl, it is. It's super awesome for student engagement. And it's also really great for just that collaborative work and brainstorming. And so this is, let me see. So like this right here is a primary source analysis activity that I did with a group. And it was awesome because we went through and I gave them the prompts. And so what do you observe? And so they used blue Post-its for what they observed, what evidence supports your observations, and then also what questions. And so they were able to, you know, put in all these, and like this group is super organized because you can see their Post-its are all lined up. Other groups are more random, but it's really kind of cool how they can use them. So many things that you can do. And like what I'm excited about now is I could put this in as a background, because this was just, I had to put in a picture, and so they could move it or delete it or whatever, and there was no version history. Now I could put it in as the background, and I can set it as the background. So that's Jamboard, super fast. Let's see. Oh, and Sheets. So Google Sheets, I think, is one of the things that a lot of people avoid because spreadsheets are scary. So tell me who's using Google Sheets and what you're using Google Sheets for. Documenting standards, attendance. Oh, cool. Parent contacts. Chelsea, are you using a Google form for that? Call logs, pretty much everything. I know. If you guys are like me, oh, okay. So, okay, we will, oh, Chelsea, we can change your life. Okay. So one of the other really cool things about Google Sheets is Google Forms responses automatically go into a Google Sheet. And so like this Google form that I sent out to you guys yesterday, I have the responses, but then I can also send it to a Google Sheet. And so it'll come up as a Google Sheet that I can now, I have all of my data from that form in one spot. And so when we're looking at our resources here, so this streamlined Google Sheets, this is, I think, it's so cool, all the things we can do. So in Google Sheets, I did give you the getting started and then this training and help type of thing, just so you can play around with it. But this slideshow is an amazing slideshow that goes through and shows you how to oh shoot, we're way far down in it. He gives you about 13, 14 different ways to use Google Sheets. Everything from filtering to conditional formatting and pivot tables and data validation. And I mean, it's just so many cool things. And so like for those of you that are talking about using it for family call logs, you could make a Google form. So if I go to my Google Drive and I make a new form, and we'll just make a demo call log, and I'll share it with you so that we can get some data in it real quick. So I'm going to make a quick call log form. We'll do and because I'm using this only internally, I'm not making things required because it makes it a lot easier. If I make it required, then I have to put something in. And I don't necessarily want to have to put something in every time when I'm using a form for something that's just my own and then so I mean I'm just making stuff up, but so we throw all those things in. I'm going to make this so that we can share it. Oh, and I want my reason to be multiple choice. So I'm going to just give it attendance, behavior, kudos. Okay. So you guys are going to get to play along. We'll do a super fast. Everybody will drop something in so that I get some data really quick. And so I'm going to send this to you guys, and I'm going to copy the link, and I'm just going to drop it in the chat. And so here is our call log data gatherer. So go ahead and click on that and fill out this form for me. So I'll give you a second to do that. And the nice thing about Google Forms is as you gather information, it'll just automatically fill in for me. And you can make it fake. I mean, it doesn't have to be real names or anything. Yay, we're getting data. I'm so excited. Okay. So now this is where the fun part starts. So I can click on my create spreadsheet. And how to do all of this is in those tips and tricks. And so you can do all this. I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. And it's going to open up. And so all of this data is in my little Timmy. You guys are killing me. All of this data is now showing up in my spreadsheet. But the cool thing now is I can do different things with this data. And so like you have color-coded labels. Well, this is automatically popping in here. And so this could be something that multiple, like if you wanted to have in a middle schooler where you're sharing students, you could keep track of call logs this way. So you could go in, we can filter. So if I want to see if there is anybody that's the same, you know, like in you guys, I probably won't have the same student names here, but I could see if I have the same student name, so I could filter that out. But the other things I can do is I can do conditional formatting. And so if I go to format, yes, it does. If you guys keep adding content in, it keeps adding. So I've got something at 9:55. And so if you put in a new one, the last one was page, the next one will show. Yeah, no, this is so fun. This is the coolest thing ever. So format, conditional formatting. And I've selected this column. And so the cool thing here is I can say that if it contains, and because I gave you choices here, it's always going to say attendance, kudos, or behavior. And so if I can say it's exactly kudos, and I can change the color there and I can say done. And so now I'm going to be able to see all my kudos. I can see if it is exactly attendance. And this is where I need to change my color here because otherwise it'll still be green and I don't want it to necessarily be green, but so we'll change it to, and then I can also add in one more and I can say, did you add another rule? No. What are you doing? I'm done. Okay. Sorry. We got a little crazy there. So I can add another rule and I can say that this one is behavior. And we can make that the yellow. Done. All right, and so now at a glance, now at a glance, I can see what's going on with, you know, and so it looks like attendance is a big problem, you know, so you can do some really cool things like that. The other things we can do really easily are we can do a pivot table. And you guys, so pivot tables have always scared me. I mean, I'm like super geeky, I'm super whatever-y, and pivot tables are like, wait, what? And so I really, so it's like, and now I'm going to demo pivot tables to you. So let's go ahead and we'll just select all our data, and we're going to do an insert. Let's see, I got to find it. Okay, data, do a data pivot table. And it's going to ask me where I want it to go. And I'm going to put it in a new sheet just because, or I'm going to put it in my, no, in my new sheet. I want it in a new sheet. It's how to say create, and it'll make me a new tab in this. And so now I can do some really cool things with this. And so this will count for me. So I'm done creating conditional formatting. And if I click in my pivot table, now I'm going to say I can do count of student name for each reason is something that's automatic. And so look, I have 11 attendance, 6 behaviors, and 4 kudos. I think you guys need to send more kudos. I'm just kidding, you're fine. I can also go in and I can add more values. And so they can be calculated fields. I can add in all sorts of things. So you have a lot of options with your pivot tables to play around with. I'm going to go back to this, the screen. The other thing you can do with a spreadsheet that is in Google Forms, or that is a Google form. So, you know, we've got the timestamp is automatically there. We have A, B, C, D, E, all are, that's our date, you know, B, C, D, E are all our data that we gathered in the form. If you want to use columns F to eternity, you can add in your own resources. And so you can say, you know, talked with teacher or talked with other teachers, you know, blah, blah, blah. You can add in resources or information. The only thing you can't do is if you start adding in data at the bottom, it gets kind of funky. So if you start adding in rows, that makes things kind of funky. It doesn't work real well. The other thing, if you want to do like text wrapping or something, you can text wrap. Text wrap, thank you. You can text wrap, but if somebody adds in another entry, it won't be text wrapped. But I kind of like that because then it means I know where I'm at. Does that make sense? And so it means that I know where I'm at. But yeah, so this is a really quick way to so anything that you're like gathering data in a spreadsheet for, you can use a form and get the same data, but yet it'll go into a spreadsheet that, you know, so you don't have to type it into the spreadsheet individually. I am a spreadsheet girl, so I really like that. One of the other things that I talk about on the sheet here is Autocrat. And this is a Google Sheets add-on, excuse me. And so it's kind of like a mail merge. I use Autocrat extensively for making like certificates. This is, if you take a class from me, this is how you're going to get a CE certificate emailed to you. You can have things go out automatically, or you can have things, or you can, you know, you can create them. You can create them on forms. So Autocrat is an add-on. And so when we go to your sheet, you have to launch it. You have to have made a document in advance to align with it. So you could do some really, really great things with this. So, so that's, I think, a lot of Google. I've got one more Google life-changing thing for you, and then we'll take a short break and we'll come back and do Microsoft, okay? So what I want to know is who here is using different Chrome profiles on their Chrome browsers? Anybody? Are you, Val? Yay! Isn't it life-changing, Valerie? I know, David. That's what most people tell me. All right, so we are going to do a real fast Chrome profile. So this is going to, yes, Val, a school one and a home one. I have a school one, I have a home one, I have another school one, I have another school one, I have another school one. I have another home one. I have more profiles. I was showing them to my daughter yesterday. She's like, whoa, that's a lot of profiles. All right, Chrome profiles, streamline your life. And so the resources are at bit.ly/organize Chrome, and that's the help for Chrome. So why would you want to do this? It's going to help you keep your Chrome profiles or your Chrome logins separate. And so it's great if you have multiple email addresses. It's great if you're sharing a computer. I will share. It's great if you're sharing a computer, and it's also really great just way to keep yourself organized. So let me grab the link for you guys. So here's the link. So super easy. When you want to create your Chrome profile, you need to click on your profile in the top right corner. And that's going to pop up, or I mean, so I made it a little bigger. And so you're going to want to make sure you click on the profile in the browser and not your Google account profile. So then what you're going to do is you're going to create the plus to create your profile. And that's going to ask you to type in the name of your profile. I encourage you to be somewhat descriptive. And so like some of my profiles are like Julie Work or Julie K-12, you know, just because that helps me know when I'm switching back and forth what I'm switching to. And then once you've done that, you can sign in with your email address. And so if you already have a Google account, you can sign in. And now you've created your first Chrome profile. So now that why is this life changing? Because now you can go in and switch different people. And so you can see that I've got a handful of people there. And it's just so much easier to do. So I will add this into your resources so you have that on your resources when we're done. But I use my Chrome profiles, and I'll show you all my Chrome profiles, which is wild. So I have all these different Chrome profiles going on right now. So when I work with the school and they have their own email address, just to keep myself together, I use them for lots of different things. And so Chrome profiles, and so then other things with Chrome profiles is I do not log in to that email unless it's the right profile. And so this is my work email. I'm only logged into my work email on this Chrome browser. So it can make your life a lot easier. So let's go ahead and take just a quick 5-minute break so you can get up and walk around and refresh your coffee, et cetera, and then we'll come back and jump into Microsoft and spend a little bit of time looking at that, and then I'll let you explore. Again and share my screen. All right, so we're back in day one, and we will hang out in the Microsoft section now. And so Microsoft truly is done some really cool things. And one of the things that I am most excited about Microsoft is just the updates that they've made in terms of how easy it is to use Office 365 and collaborate and all of those types of things. And so if you're using Office 365, it really is comparable to Google. And so in the olden days, Office was only on your computer and it only got updates when you bought the new version. And if you made a file, you sent it to somebody and they could edit it, but it wasn't collaborative. With Office 365, you have those abilities to collaborate just like we do in Google. And so that for me is one of the most exciting parts about the Microsoft updates. Microsoft also has a lot more security functionality. I shouldn't say more, but it is different. And, you know, like Jamie and Lead Deadwood, you use Microsoft a lot because of the security functionality. And so there's just a lot of things that if you're curious about options, I would encourage you to go into the admin side and check out Microsoft's functionality there. So let's jump in to some of the updates that Microsoft has pushed out recently with Edge, for one thing. And so this is Edge. So I never used Microsoft Explorer. it was always kind of like always a little sketchy. And so when Edge came out, I was kind of like, well, I started using it a little bit more, and oh my goodness, you guys, these latest updates are amazing. And so if you don't use Edge, it may be worth, you know, checking it out. Couple of caveats. If you are a GoGuardian school and your students have to stay in Chrome so you can see what they're doing. And so some of this Edge stuff doesn't really work with GoGuardian. So in Edge, when you click on the three dots, I love the irony of showing you Google Workspace while I'm modeling Edge. You click on the three dots, and Microsoft is huge for the three dots. And so one of the things you're going to notice that everywhere we go, if you click on the three dots, it's going to give you more options. And it's all, in many cases, going to give you the best options. So you're going to notice that as we scroll on down the page, there is an option, for read aloud. Immersive Reader is one of the functions in Google or in Microsoft that is everywhere. And so I just paused that. But when we do read aloud, it will bring up read aloud. It'll bring up read aloud at the top of your screen, and it'll read basically anything that is on the screen. So let me.
Education. Shantanu Sinha. Product and Design Lead, Google for Education. During the 15 years we've been building tools for educators, we've seen the needs of instructors, education leaders, and students.
So I have options for voice control if I want. I can slow down or speed up the speed of the reading. I can also change voices, and you're going to notice that I have different languages now, which is really kind of cool. And you can add more voices. And so that is just part of Edge. There's no add-ons or anything that you have to do to use that. There is an Immersive Reader add-on that you can add to Google Chrome, and that works out pretty well also, but we'll look at that in a minute. Some of the other cool things that you can do in Edge now are you can go in and do a web capture. And so I can either free select or I can get the full page. And so once I do that, it's going to come up with the whole web capture. I can now annotate on this page if I want. I can draw, you know, various thicknesses. I can then copy this and paste it. I can save it as an image, or I can share it out directly. And so if I share it, it's going to give me the option to, yeah, this doesn't like it today. Of course it doesn't like it today because I'm showing you guys things. All right. It worked for me last time I did it. But so that's an option. And then you're also going to notice that like I can enter Immersive Reader here. I can also add this page to my favorites, just like we always have been able to. You can add in any extensions now, just like we did in Google Chrome. And so you have a lot of options to bring in your extensions. So that's really great to be able to have that functionality. You can make collections. And so if you want to group your tabs together, you can do that. And start a new collection, and you can start curating your collections. And then you can also, things that are coming for us are, when we go back to the OneNote, some of the things that are coming are, well, the sleeping tabs are here. So you're going to notice that I have all these grayed out tabs. Those are sleeping tabs, and it's sleeping to save resource. And so they're still there, they're still open, which is perfect for me because, as you may have noticed, I have a lot of tabs open. You can do vertical tabs, which is really awesome. And so if I wanted to do vertical tabs, I could click up here. Oh, what am I sharing? Sorry, I think it clicked over. Thanks for telling me, David. Very frustrating. I'm sorry. So you can also do vertical tabs if you want. And so that will give you, it'll give you that option, and you can have all your tabs be vertical. So there's just some really great functionalities that you can do as you are going in. So Edge, the math solver I have not seen yet. It says it's being rolled out, and I don't know if, I'm not sure. I just haven't seen the math solver show up yet, but that when it shows up will be really cool. Teams is another one of those resources that has had a phenomenal amount of updates. And so I did give you some new PDF guides because they're very, it's just nice to have those types of things. And then a couple of the other really cool things in Teams are, let me go to Teams. When you're doing Teams now, some of the functionality that you have that we didn't have before, where you can, oh, nice, Val. Yes, the virtual conferences. I love that. So like Teams meetings are one of the things that I use extensively. They're very slick and super easy to do. I also use Teams a lot for the collaborative chat. And then some of the other things that are kind of coming down the pipe with Microsoft Teams is, let's see, we're going to go here and we'll look at this document. So how many of you guys are using Microsoft Teams in your buildings? Nice, Cheryl. David, only on 2 Teams meetings. Well, you're dangerous if you've been on 2 Teams meetings. So Some of the things that have changed in the last year, basically, is your Teams meetings is now a separate window. So that's been really nice. It's not in Teams any longer. So it's kind of like Zoom. You can move it around. You can make it go away. A couple of other things with Teams that have really, has changed is your ability to do your breakout rooms. And so you can now have breakout rooms in Teams meetings. You can also, when we're setting up our Teams meetings, you have that functionality to do things like PowerPoint Live. And so that's one of the new Office 365 things that are coming out. And I'm so excited about PowerPoint Live because it's essentially like doing like some of the fancy webinars that we've seen with, oh, I can't think of what I'll show you guys here in a second. Here it is. So this is PowerPoint Live, and this is coming out yet this spring. And so you can have your view, so you can see your view. You can also go in and see a presenter mode. And so it'll filter, you can change where, your head is big on the screen or smaller on the screen or side by side. So you have some really cool options within presenter mode. And so I'm excited for that just because it's going to really change how you can present in a Teams meeting and what you can see and how it will look. So there's some kind of fun things coming down the pipe with those. A couple of other really cool things that are happening in Teams. Let's see, in Microsoft. Office Lens. So who here is using Office Lens? Is anybody using Office Lens? So Office Lens is an add-on. And as long as you're logged in to you, and you need to, it's an app for your Android or your iOS device. And one of the really cool things with Office Lens is you can now do image to text, image to table, image to contact, immersive reader, and QR code scan, along with the scanned experience. And so we can scan multiple images. It'll extract the text for us from images. And so it's just really, it saves, when you play around with it, you can save it as an image. You can save it as an OCR document. You have a lot of different options there. And so Microsoft Lens is one of the resources that I've used a little bit in the past, and they've recently really updated it, and it's just really, really powerful. So I encourage you to play around with Office Lens and see what you can take away from that. So Immersive Reader, we talked a lot about a few minutes when we were in Edge, and so it's embedded there, but Immersive Reader is embedded everywhere. And so you're going to notice that I have Immersive Reader at the top of this OneNote that you're in. And so if you click on that, it's going to open up a new browser window, and it's going to bring up any of the words that
Accessibility tools.
And so it will read aloud this to me. Some of the other things that I can do is when you're in like OneNote, Word, et cetera, I can turn on parts of speech. And so now I can do syllables. And so now when I go back, I can see the different parts of speech as we're reading through. So I have a lot of different options with Immersive Reader depending on where I'm at. And so this is Immersive Reader in my OneNote. Some of the other really awesome things with Immersive Reader is there is a Google Chrome extension. And so when you're looking at the Google Chrome extension, it will tell you, and this is like made me kind of go, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. It's scary. It tells you it's not official. And so you're like, oh my goodness, you know, I don't want to use this. So the interesting thing about this is Microsoft does know about Immersive Reader Unofficial, and it's created by the guy who created Pear Deck, because Immersive Reader is in so many different places now that it's in Flipgrid, it's in Wakelet, it's in, if you're using the new Whiteboard IO, it's in that. I mean, it's just, Microsoft is really awesome about giving products access to Immersive Reader so that they can have Immersive Reader everywhere. But it isn't on Chrome yet. And so the Pear Deck guy, where Immersive Reader can be used in Pear Deck, the Pear Deck guy wanted to make a Chrome version. So if you're interested in Immersive Reader on Chrome, you can use Immersive Reader as the Chrome browser. And the unofficial just means that it's you know, Microsoft didn't put it out, but it's not put out by somebody who's not, you know, it's okay. So I actually use it on a couple of my Chromes, and it's fine. I did just see a note that somebody said that it won't necessarily read like Google Docs unless they're published. And so I want to try that in Edge to see how that works. But so it's kind of that accessibility functionality is such a big part of you know, helping our learners be successful. And so I'm really excited at the availability of easy accessibility as we're going through. Let me see, what else is there? So a couple of other things with office.com that I wanted to show you guys are in office.com. When you're all logged in and everything, if we go in and look at any one of the options, this is one of the things that for me is like so very exciting. So I can make a new document. I can share this document with you guys as an editable document. And so we'll call it come on, computer. Did it take it? It didn't take it. So I'm going to share this document so that everybody can edit it, so that I can show you some of the, we can't reach the server. That's lovely. Okay. We'll just hang out for a second. So, you know, we talked a little bit earlier in how to voice type in Google. Dictate, look for Dictate. It is virtually everywhere in all the Office products. And so you can dictate your emails, you can dictate. This is dictation in Word. And so I can do this on the app. I can also do this on the web. I can also do this on my phone if I want. And so you have a lot of options for dictation. And then you just click on it again to turn it off. So let's see if I can share again, because, oh my goodness. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share this with you to show you that we could all be in and we could all be editing and typing in this document together. Some of the other really great things that we can do here, and I just think this is like super magic, is I can reuse files. And so it's going to pull up all my files in OneNote. And so now I can say, oh, I'm going to grab this file and I can select content out of here that I want to reuse. And so I can say that I want to do this. And it's going to drop it in and give me everything from that other document. So I don't have to copy and paste anything anymore. I can just drop it in. I can also, when I go in and look at references, I can, when I'm on the web, I have fewer functionality, but you're going to notice that I should be able to open it in my browser or open it in my app. So if I say open in desktop app, I know, I didn't know it either. So I'm going to open it in Word real quick. Hopefully. Okay, here it goes. So here's our document in Word. And so I am going to have way more options. And so when you're playing around in any of the Office 365 resources, if you come over to Word or you come over to the desktop app, you are going to have a lot more options. So just so you know. So here I can go in and I can now, notice that I can insert citations if I want. I can, so that's super awesome. I can do captions, lots of different functionality there. One of the other things that I really encourage people to check out is doing mail merges, because it's just a quick way to send out emails. I often send out my emails through a mail merge because then I don't have to do this. You do need to have the Office 365 and you do need to have Office 365 on your desktop too. Yes, for this to all work. And you should have that. If you have if you have Office 365, like the K-12, all the K-12 has Office 365, and Office 365 is free to K-12 users or to education. So you should be able to get that. And so that's just kind of a quick, like how you can do this. I was going to try to see if we can make it share again, because that would be really nice to be able to show you guys how we can all type together, just like we did in like Jamboard or wherever. Oh my word. I'm having a great Office day apparently. So it didn't like me after that, but that's okay. So those are those kinds of things when you are checking out your Office options, that they're just some really great resources that you have access to. All right, so yeah, David, you will want to request it then from your tech support to be able to access Office 365. All right, I feel like I've talked about a lot of stuff. And so I'm really curious, questions, comments, thoughts that you have right now. I'll double check, Val, and make sure that I linked things over. I had a funky link earlier. So maybe try refreshing and seeing what happens.
This is Dave. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just, I know when we all started out with this 365 ours, that we had to request it. And I don't know how many of the staff at Flanger Indian School actually have this on their desktop. I know I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to finally get it on my desktop. And I think there's a lot of our staff that are still haven't gotten this version yet. All of our stuff is in the cloud. On the 365, everything is all cloud-based, and I don't think any of it is actually on the desktops.
And that's very, and so you'll notice, and let me find my Office again. And so when I go to office.com, and I don't know what, it depends on the permissions that you have, okay? But so when you go to office.com, you'll notice that you have the ability to install Office up here in the upper right-hand corner. And so you can install Office. So you could install the whole Office suite if you wanted to. And then when you come in and turn and log into something, it will ask you to log in with your Office 365 email address to connect them. And so that is one of the things that, as I am, kind of working through all this stuff, like I was doing all this training and I didn't have Office 365, you guys. So, because I just hadn't gotten updated because my organization controls my updates. So it's one of those things where depending on what your organization controls will depend on what your options are. Does that make sense? So I would definitely ask if you have Office 365, just because it's one of those tools that it's made life a lot easier, and you have a lot of functionality now that we just didn't have before. And so I'm very thankful for that. All right, so I had a great question from the crowd, and I'm going to throw it back at you guys. So in the chat, we are going to, I've given you, I'm going to give you a Jamboard, and we're going to answer the I prefer Google and why, and I prefer Microsoft and why, so that you can chime in, and then I will come back and I will kind of tell you some of my thoughts on what I prefer. Nice. So Chad, I love that. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That really makes life a lot easier. All right. So Mike, you had a great question, and I'm putting it back out to everybody. So on this Jamboard, answer the Google Microsoft question. So there you go. So there's a Jamboard in the chat. Go ahead and hop on and Mike, and that's a lot of it is familiarity with the different resources. So I get it. I really do get it. Oh, view only. Oh, sorry. I want you to type. So heavens. Okay, there you go. Go again. Type away. I love whoever said they like Google because they can find answers to their questions on Twitter or Facebook or Google. You don't ever feel lost. That's a great, that's a great answer. This is really great. Um, so to answer, the question, kind of what I see, um, I I still prefer Google for collaborative activities. And so when I'm thinking collaboration, I really like Google. Um, Office has gotten better. Obviously, Office 365 is pretty amazing for collaboration now, but it isn't quite, um, there's still some weirdness when we're in different domains and, things like that. One of the things that I've really noticed, and so like the person who commented about it's, it's used a lot in business world, and if you could prepare students for that, it'll be a plus. One of the things that I really have noticed, because I started out Microsoft, I was using Microsoft in college when it was brand new, and it didn't have that many options, and I've just continued using it all the way through. So one of the things that I've noticed is the Google resources and the Microsoft resources are very similar. Like you can do conditional formatting in Excel. You can also do conditional formatting in Google Sheets. But then there might be some sort of wonkiness, like if you want to sort in Google Sheets, it's backwards to how you would sort in Excel. And so it's you do need to pay attention. So I use both. I use both extensively, and I use them, like the person who commented that Office has more options. Yes, Office does have some more options, some things that you can do that you can't do in Google. But then there's also stuff you can do in Google that you can't do in Office. Like, did you guys know Control-Shift-V, when you paste in Google, will remove the formatting? So like you don't have to you don't have to remove formatting or do some funky paste thing like you have to do in Office. I kind of use, I encourage people to, use one, whichever one works best for you, but also be aware of the other one and know that you have that capability to go back and forth pretty easily. Google has gotten really great about, you can upload your Microsoft, Word doc or PowerPoint into Google and edit it without making the conversion. And so that's really great. But at the same, so you have that functionality. You can download everything out of Google and edit it in, Word or PowerPoint, et cetera, et cetera. So just, I guess, and so the person who said that they Google, yes, see, Christy, that's just it. You if you have both platforms, you really do. You kind of need to be able to go both ways. One of the things that I would really, kind of, like the person who commented about you like Google because you can find answers to any questions, Microsoft has really upped their education presence. And so Mike Tollefson has some amazing resources, and he's been doing TikTok videos on all the Microsoft stuff. I mean, but they have YouTube channels and, all that kind of stuff. So Microsoft really has done a lot of stuff. So this is really cool. So Microsoft does do autosave now. If you're using like Microsoft in the cloud, if you're using Office 365, you can have autosave. So that's pretty fun. Oh, you guys are so much fun. And I love the thumbs up. That's cool. One of the things that I like better in Office than I do in Google is I really like Microsoft Teams. I like Microsoft Teams for the collaboration aspect. We use Teams extensively at work for chat, so and then I don't know that I would necessarily use, with kids it could be great. I like the Microsoft Teams education platform, but even just as professionals, Microsoft Teams is great for that communication. Awesome. All right, so we are almost out of time. Are there any questions about anything that we've talked about today that you would like clarification on or anything like that? And then tomorrow, when we come back, we'll do or not tomorrow, Thursday, when we come back, we're going to do a little debrief collaborative activity on Google and Microsoft. And then we will also dive into some of the additional resources that you can offer for your learners that Microsoft provides, that Google provides, but also some other things. So I can't wait. So I'll handle any questions if you have questions. Yep, I will send it out after the 3 day. Well, actually, I'll probably just send out today, and I don't know. I'll send it out after all 3 days. Okay, Cheryl, so you have everything all at once rather than multiples. Ah, bye, Val. All right, well, thanks guys for coming. And if you have any questions, definitely drop them in the chat and I will be happy to answer them.